So we're gonna be doing a very exciting video today, guys, because I'm gonna be finally telling you all about how I have been writing essays in Japanese for the past few months to improve my written Japanese skills and to hopefully bring my Japanese level to academic level. 皆さんこんにちは、アリです。Hey everyone, my name is Ali. Welcome or welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, I am a language learner and also a language learning content creator. I'm mostly studying Japanese and Mandarin Chinese at the moment. And today, like I said, we're going to be talking about my experience writing essays in Japanese as a study practice to help me upgrade my written expression skills in Japanese. Today's video is not going to be a tutorial because I'm mostly going to share with you what my experience has been and whether or not I got the results that I was looking for, without giving you tips necessarily because I'm not far enough in this process to be able to give you advice and tips on how to do it yourself. But hopefully, hearing me talk about this will give you some ideas for your own study practice, whether it be in Japanese or in any other language. So without further ado, let's get started. Just a side note, guys, before we actually dive in, if you hear any background noises, first of all, I'm very sorry about it, but there are some works going on at the moment outside of my apartment building in Japan, so please excuse me for that, and I will try to reduce all of the ambient noise as much as possible. Right, so because we've got a lot to talk about today and because I didn't want to miss out on anything that I wanted to tell you guys, I've actually got all of my notes in my notebook right here. So if you see me look down, that will be because I'm looking at my notes. To start, let me talk about what my approach has been when considering essay writing in Japanese. I started writing proper essays in Japanese around March this year, so in 2024. And this was because written expression in Japanese had been my lowest skill since pretty much the start of my journey with the Japanese language. And this is easily explained because I lack practice there, since written expression is actually not a skill that is tested with language exams and tests such as the GLPT and the BJT. So because I mostly prepared myself for those tests in the past and since the beginning of my journey with the language, of course it means that I lacked practice in the skills that were not tested there. So I was aware of that, and I knew that at some point I would need to bridge the gap here and start working on my written expression skills. This is the reason why I started writing essays in Japanese. Because I like a gradual approach in general, I would always start small and then build up from there. So that's exactly what I did with my essay writing practice, because I started very small. The first few essays I've written around March this year were only a few sentences collated together and trying to make them coherent, answering a simple question, not too difficult, about topics that I was already comfortable in, just to see if I was able to really write something coherent in Japanese, write a whole paragraph with a beginning, a middle and an end. Starting from this very simple practice, I already noticed that I lacked a few things, that I was missing a few skills there. So primarily, I would say that at the very start, when producing language myself, I had issues with grammar correctness, with tone consistency, and also with my vocab range. Even though I got the GLPT N1 last year, I can say that my input skills are pretty high, so I can basically understand anything that I read or hear in Japanese. And even though I can express myself orally in Japanese, producing language in a written format is much more difficult. So I was asking myself still which particle I should use between ni, nite, or te. And I was also asking myself questions like, which vocab word would be the best to use in this context? Which vocab word is the most relevant here? And also, of course, about the tone consistency, I would ask myself, okay, so this is how I would say this particular thing orally if I was talking to somebody. But then in written form, how do I transpose this? Because I know that this formulation is used in spoken Japanese, but not in written Japanese. So how do I say this in written Japanese? So I clearly, since the very start, identified the difficulties I was facing. And based on that, I devised my essay writing practice routine. Since that very first start, I have written about 30 essays in total of various length and difficulty. So I've written, like I said, very short essays that are a few sentences only. And then I've written more medium-sized essays with a few paragraphs, so a few sentences for the intro. Then for the essay body, I have written like maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs and then 1 paragraph for conclusion. So that would be a medium-length essay. And then I have also written a couple essays that are much longer than this and that are a few pages on the topics that I was most interested in. So whenever I'm able to follow my regular study routine on a given week or the succession of a few weeks, my pace with this essay writing practice has been of 1 essay a week, because it seems that this is the pace that suits me the most. So whenever I can do it, I keep this consistent practice of 1 essay a week. Now, about what I've been writing about. I've been writing about a variety of topics, basically anything that interests me or anything that I want to challenge myself about. So for example, I have written about psychology, but I've also written about philosophy, my thoughts on language acquisition methods, and for example, language learning policies within the education system. So really a broad range of topics. I've made it a point to really talk about a lot of different things to see what I was most comfortable with in terms of vocab and just general argumentation, and also what I was the least comfortable with. So now my job will be to really focus on the areas where I'm least comfortable so that I can improve, of course. So basically when I sit down and write about, for example, educational policies, let's say, I would ask myself, okay, can I talk about this topic, formulating my opinion about the topic correctly, let's say, as a Japanese adult would, and not sounding like a child talking about this because I lack vocab or proper grammar or, again, tone consistency. So that's primarily what I've been asking myself while writing these essays, which means that so far I've mostly been focusing on my language skills per se, and not so much my essay writing skills. Those are 2 different things. I wasn't too focused on proper essay structure. Am I following the right order? You know, the sentence giving the theme in the paragraph and then a few concrete examples and then a logical argument and then giving my opinion and then concluding my paragraph with a final sentence. I haven't been focusing on all of that yet. Alright, so now that you guys know everything about the background and the context surrounding my essay writing practice and routine, let me now dive into the how I'm writing my essays, which tools do I use and how do I do it. So concerning the tools that I use is going to be extremely simple, because essentially the only thing I need to sit down and write an essay in Japanese is my computer, because I don't use any other resources or materials when writing my essays. I make it a point to really come up with my own sentences, my own words, because the purpose is to test myself and to improve my level from the previous essay that I would have written. I really make it a point to not have any aid or assistance. In the future, it may happen that I use materials, but so far this was not my goal, so I would only use my computer. Now, where do I write my essays? I basically have 2 Google documents. One is for all of the essays I'm writing independently, so without any prompts that I would use, which is coming from a study resource on topics that I find interesting and that I want to grow my vocab range about. And then the second Google document is compiling all of the essays I have written following textbooks or books about essay composition. In those books, they usually give prompts for writing your own essays and just practicing what they teach you about in the books. And so in this document, I've been compiling all of the essays I've written following those prompts. So as you see, very simple. When I'm writing my essays, it's just me and my keyboard. As soon as I'm done writing a specific essay, this is where I use ChatGPT. Now, you guys have seen me use ChatGPT in my study vlogs when writing my essays in Japanese, and you had a few questions about how I set it up there to act as my companion for my essay writing routine, which prompts I've given it, and whether or not it yielded the results that I was expecting. So let me tackle all of these questions now. I have been using ChatGPT for 3 things in particular. At the very beginning, when using it, I asked it to give me prompts, actually. Essay prompts that are relevant to me and my interests. I've also been using ChatGPT for correcting my essays once I'm done writing them. And then the last thing I've been using ChatGPT for is analyzing my level overall in written Japanese. So let me share with you the details of the prompts that I've been using in my conversation with ChatGPT. So actually guys, when starting a new conversation with a large language model like ChatGPT, you must never forget to actually send it a training prompt. So essentially with the training prompt, you're giving context to the conversation. So when starting the new conversation, you tell the AI tool how it is supposed to take the questions that you will ask it in the conversation that's coming. I really advise you to separate your conversations, and in this case, if you want to try these essay writing prompt questions, just keep it in a separate conversation. So the training prompt will ensure that the AI tool really answers you with relevant feedback. In this case, so that ChatGPT understands what the context is, this is an example of what you can send out. This is what I've given my own ChatGPT myself. You are an expert Japanese language tutor. You are trained in academic Japanese as well as speech writing, and you help the people you tutor improve their expression skills in Japanese using clear and detailed feedback to help them upgrade their grammar skills and vocab range. Asking that at the beginning of my conversation really helped ChatGPT focus on what I was looking for and what was relevant to me in this context. Now, after a while, I actually asked ChatGPT to give me some essay prompts, like I've told you earlier, and I've used a single prompt for this, which is very simple. Give me prompts in Japanese with translation into English I could use to practice Japanese formal writing with. I am interested in, and then here you can insert any topic that you are interested in writing about in essay format. A lot of topics, as you can see, but I'm interested in a lot of things. Now, if you need assistance, if you need help from ChatGPT to actually write your own essays, here is what you can ask. For example, give me a list of the vocab words I should include in my essay on the topic, and here you insert the topic that you want to write your essay about, or the particular essay question. And similarly, you can also ask, give me a list of the common grammar structures that are found in essays written in Japanese. And then you can just take this list and have it on the side as a help material while you write your essays. Now, for the correction prompts, I mostly use 2. The first one is correct my Japanese essay for me. Give me the corrections for syntax, grammar, vocabulary usage, tone, and formality consistency. I want to achieve clear and natural writing, ensuring my thoughts are properly conveyed. And then, in the same prompt, I just copy and paste my whole essay, and then I press enter. The second type of prompt I've been giving ChatGPT is based on my original essay, tell me where I could use more appropriate or advanced vocabulary words. This is very useful because then it gives me a very specific list of where I can improve my vocab range. And then sometimes I also give this prompt, give me a spoken version of my essay, so that I also train myself to really differentiate between written Japanese and spoken Japanese, and to help me identify how I would talk about this same topic but with spoken Japanese instead of written Japanese. I've only done it a couple of times, but this has been very helpful. Now, sometimes once I get enough essays corrected in a row, so I'm talking 8 to 10 essays in a row, I will send prompts for level analysis. So I have a first prompt which goes, based on the corrections you gave me so far, analyze my current essay writing level in Japanese and let me know how I can improve. Very helpful prompt because it gives you hints on how you can shape your study routine to improve. And then the second prompt I've been giving it is analyze all of the essays I gave you to correct so far and give me a list of the 10 most frequent mistakes I am making when writing in Japanese. Again, very useful prompt because ChatGPT can see patterns in your mistakes much more clearly and much faster than you can. So use it. So that's basically all of the prompts that I regularly use to help me in this first phase of my essay writing practice. So as you saw, nothing revolutionary. A lot of people are doing the same with their language study routines and using ChatGPT for the same purposes. Now, I cannot talk about ChatGPT without making a few disclaimers. So I'm gonna go very quick. The first one, we all know now that ChatGPT actually uses a lot of energy and that it is actually harmful to our planet. So just like anything else that is harmful to our environment, it is to be used with caution. The second disclaimer is of course that ChatGPT is not always accurate. It may not give you always correct answers. You always have to keep that in mind when using ChatGPT for language learning or for anything else for that matter. ChatGPT is only a useful tool to help you get hints, to help you think about things that you haven't noticed before, to help you notice things, to help you notice patterns. That's it. And so the third disclaimer is actually linked to that. ChatGPT will never replace a human language tutor. The interactions you have with ChatGPT will never replace the interactions you can have with a Japanese native correcting you and who's a professional at language teaching. So again, just keep that in mind. And I'm counting on you guys to use this tool intelligently. But I know that you are smart people, so I'm not too worried there. So now, what's next after this first phase of essay writing practice? Well, first of all, I need to tell you whether or not it gave me the results that I was expecting. And here the answer is yes. It did give me the results that I was expecting because now, after writing those 30 essays following this routine, I can feel that I'm much more comfortable when producing the language in written form. I'm not asking myself as many questions about grammar and tone and vocab as before. So I've definitely improved there. I have a lot more automatisms when it comes to, finding the written form of a specific formulation in comparison with its spoken form. And overall, I just feel much more confident in my essay writing. And so I have actually already entered phase 2, let's say, of my essay writing practice, which is now to focus more on the actual essay writing skills that I wasn't focusing on until now. But that will be the topic of a future video on the matter because I'm still in the midst of this phase. So as soon as I've had enough practice and as soon as I've gathered enough experience to talk to you about it, I will definitely make a video about it. So that's pretty much it for today's video. I've basically told you everything that I wanted to tell you today. I hope this was interesting and insightful. If you liked today's video, I actually want to recommend you this one if you haven't watched it yet. In this video, I shared with you everything you need to know to start reading in Japanese. Alright guys, thank you for watching and I will see you in my next video on the channel. Bye bye! Mata ne!
Simple, simple, simple minds. I guess we'll take it one